The afternoon was bright, the sun shining through tall glass windows of the Royal Pearl restaurant, one of the most expensive and famous places in the city. Businessmen in suits talked loudly, ladies in designer dresses laughed while sipping coffee, and waiters moved quickly between tables with shining trays. Everything looked rich, perfect, and polished, just like a world where only the wealthy belonged. At the entrance, a young girl named Aisha stood still for a moment, gathering courage. She was around 18 or 19, with a soft face, deep innocent eyes, and long hair tied in a simple braid. She wore an old faded dress, the kind people normally ignored. Her sandals were worn out, and the small cloth bag in her hand looked like it had seen many years. She looked out of place among the expensive furniture, sparkling chandeliers, and well-dressed guests. But her eyes held something different, hope. A belief that she had come here for a reason. Taking a deep breath, Aisha walked inside. She moved slowly, careful with each step, like she was scared someone might push her back out. The cold air from the restaurant's AC made her shiver, but she didn't stop. She kept looking around as if searching for someone, maybe an opportunity, maybe a dream. A group of young rich girls sitting near the entrance noticed her. One of them whispered loudly, enough for Aisha to hear. "Look at her clothes. Did she enter by mistake?" The others giggled, trying to hide their laughter behind manicured hands. Aisha heard them clearly, her heart sinking a little, but she stayed quiet. She was used to such comments. Life had taught her to absorb pain silently. She approached the reception desk where a smartly dressed receptionist stood. The woman looked Aisha up and down, first her old dress, then her sandals, and her fake smile disappeared. "Yes. What do you want?" the receptionist asked in a cold tone. Aisha spoke softly, her voice trembling with nervousness. I want to meet the manager. I need to talk about a job." The receptionist raised her eyebrows as if she had heard a joke. "Job? Here. Do you think this place is for people like you?" she said with a short laugh. Aisha blinked, trying not to cry. She had spent her last money on travel, hoping she could get work here, maybe as a server, cleaner, anything. She needed to earn. She needed to support her life and studies. But the receptionist's words felt like stones thrown at her heart. Another waiter came close, looked at Aisha, and whispered, "We can't hire such people. Just send her away." The receptionist nodded and looked at Aisha again, now without even pretending to be polite. "We don't have jobs for you. Please leave." Aisha took a step back, holding her bag tightly. Guests nearby were now looking at her, some with curiosity, others with judgment. A couple at a table smiled mockingly, enjoying the scene like entertainment. One rich lady said loudly to her friend, "People like her should know their place." Aisha lowered her head. Her cheeks were red, not from anger, but from shame. She felt small, invisible, unwanted. She wanted to run away, but something inside her whispered not to give up. She tried again, voice even softer this time. "Please, just give me one chance. I need this job. My family." Before she could finish, the receptionist waved her hand rudely. "We are not running a charity. Go find work somewhere cheap." Everyone around laughed again. Aisha's throat tightened. She swallowed her tears, but one drop escaped and fell silently on the floor. She turned around slowly, walking toward the exit, shoulders shaking. She felt like the world was squeezing her heart until it hurt to breathe. Just when she reached the door, she stopped. She remembered her brother's words. "Never bow your head because of insult. You are my sister. You are strong." Her brother, her protector, her only family. She whispered his name under her breath like a prayer. If he knew what happened, he would never allow anyone to treat her like this. But she did not want to trouble him. He was always busy, always fighting battles she never fully understood. People spoke his name with respect, fear even. But Aisha only knew him as the one who wiped her tears when she was a child. Gathering courage again, she returned to the reception desk. The staff looked annoyed. Aisha took out her small phone with shaking hands and said quietly, "If you don't let me speak to the manager, then I will call my brother." Silence fell for a moment. Then everyone laughed even louder. "Her brother? Who is he?" "A rickshaw driver," one waiter said. "Maybe a mechanic," another joked. And again, they laughed. Aisha stood still. She didn't shout. She didn't curse. Her eyes simply became calm, too calm. She looked at her phone, her thumb hovering over one contact. The atmosphere changed just a little. Something unspoken passed through her eyes. Confidence. The receptionist noticed it and frowned, confused. "Who is your brother?" she asked, still arrogant but now curious. Aisha didn't answer. Instead, she pressed the call button. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Everyone watched, half amused. Then, someone answered the call. A deep, powerful voice came through the speaker. Aisha whispered only 4 words. "Bye. I need you." Fade out, suspense builds. Aisha ended the call without explaining anything more. She held the phone to her chest as if it was her last hope. Her hands were still shaking, but her eyes were different now, not weak, not broken, but determined. Inside the restaurant, the laughter slowly faded. People stared at her with mixed expressions, curiosity, disbelief, even irritation. The receptionist crossed her arms. "So, did your big brother pick up?" Aisha didn't respond. She quietly walked to a corner and sat on a small chair near the entrance. She kept her bag on her lap and folded her hands tightly over it. She didn't argue, she didn't cry this time. She just waited. Minutes passed. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20. Every tick of the wall clock felt heavy. The staff expected her to leave. Some guests expected drama. But Aisha didn't move. She stared at the glass door as if she knew something was coming, as if she trusted someone the world feared to doubt. A group of boys entered laughing loudly. One of them almost bumped into Aisha and scoffed. "Why is this poor girl sitting here? Is she waiting for free food?" His friends laughed. Aisha lowered her eyes but didn't stand up. The manager, a tall man with a trimmed beard and expensive perfume, walked toward her with irritation. "Girl, how many times do we have to say it? Leave. You are blocking the entrance." Aisha looked up slowly. Her voice was no longer begging, it was calm, steady. "My brother said he is coming. I will leave after he arrives." The manager laughed like he'd heard a joke. "Your brother? Who is he? A superhero?" Guests chuckled again. Humiliation continued, but Aisha held her silence. Silence that felt stronger than any argument. Silence that made people confused. Someone muttered, "Why isn't she scared? Does she know something?" Within the staff, small whispers began. Maybe her brother works here. Or maybe he's a politician. But no one really believed it. They thought she was bluffing. Another 30 minutes passed. Aisha's phone vibrated. Message, 5 minutes. Stay where you are. Her heart jumped. She whispered Alhamdulillah under her breath. She wiped her face, straightened her dress, and tightly held her little bag. She looked nervous, but she also looked ready, like she finally saw light in the darkness. Rain began outside, soft drizzling turning into heavy drops. People hurried inside with umbrellas. The glass door blurred with water, making it hard to see outside clearly. Suddenly, a deep sound echoed from outside, the sound of 2 black SUVs stopping at the entrance. Engines turned off. Doors opened. The restaurant grew quieter. Some guests turned their heads instinctively. Security guards outside stood straighter. Even the rain seemed to pause. Through the glass doors, a man stepped out. Tall. Sharp. Wearing a black coat. No umbrella. Rainwater sliding down his shoulders. 2 men in black followed behind him like shadows. His presence was heavy, like someone used to power, used to respect. The receptionist's jaw dropped slightly. Aisha stood up slowly, eyes locked on the man. The man entered the restaurant. Water dripped from his coat onto the shiny floor. He looked around with cold, calm eyes, the kind that make people hesitate to breathe. His voice was deep and firm. "Where is my sister?" No one spoke for a moment. Aisha whispered, "Bye." His eyes found her instantly, and everything softened for a second. He walked to her quickly and without hesitation pulled her into a protective hug. She clung to him like a child to safety. Guests watched in silence. The manager stepped forward nervously, trying to act confident. "Sir, may I help you? This girl was causing disturbance." Before he could finish, the man turned toward him slowly. His stare was enough to shut the manager's mouth mid-sentence. "You call humiliation a disturbance?" he asked, voice low but dangerous. The manager swallowed. The man took a step closer, calm and polite on the outside, storm hidden underneath. "Do you know who I am?" The manager hesitated, looking around. Some guests were already filming secretly, sensing drama worth watching. A worker whispered quietly, "He looks familiar." Another replied, "I think he's Ryan Malik, the business tycoon." A gasp slipped between the staff. The receptionist covered her mouth. Ryan Malik. The name that made businessmen stand. The name spoken with respect and fear in the city. A man known for power, money, and influence, and also known for having a temper no one wanted to see. And he was Aisha's brother. The manager's legs felt weak. Ryan placed his hand on Aisha's shoulder and said softly, "Tell me everything." Aisha looked down, voice trembling but honest. "They laughed at me. They pushed me away. They said I don't belong here." Ryan's jaw tightened. His eyes turned ice cold. He looked at the staff, each of them frozen like statues. "My sister asked for work respectfully," he said. "Instead of kindness, you gave her insults." A pin-drop silence filled the restaurant. Guests didn't dare move. Some even lowered their heads, not out of guilt, but out of shock. Ryan's men stood behind him like silent walls of authority. He spoke again, calm but sharp. "Go call the owner." The manager stuttered. "Yes, sir, the owner is at the head office." Ryan's lips curved slightly, not a smile, something scarier. "I know. Because I am the owner." Gasps. Murmurs. Eyes wide. Everything changed. The girl they mocked was sister of the man who owned the whole place. And now, the one they called poor was the one with the strongest backing. Ryan turned to Aisha again. "Today, you won't leave. Today, they will learn who you are." Aisha held his coat tightly. The audience feels goosebumps here. Power shift is beginning. Everyone froze for a moment, shocked, confused, almost unable to breathe. "No way, that poor girl is his sister," someone whispered. Others stood embarrassed, remembering how they had laughed at her. Rayyan walked straight to Aisha. He stopped right in front of her, his expensive perfume, his authority, his confidence, everything opposite of her trembling state. But his expression held only warmth. Gently, he placed his hands on her shoulders. "Aisha, look at me," he said softly. Her eyes raised slowly, filled with fear and shame. I am sorry. I didn't know how to talk to them. I think I shouldn't have come." Rayyan didn't let her finish. "Who said you don't belong here?" His voice was steady, protective. He took off his coat and placed it on her shoulders with care, like covering someone precious. Gasps echoed all around. Aisha froze, overwhelmed. Rayyan turned to the manager and staff, his eyes sharp like a blade. "This girl is my sister. My only family. And you treated her like she isn't human." The manager's face turned pale. The waiter lowered his head, embarrassed. "Yes, sir, we didn't know." "You didn't need to know," Rayyan replied firmly. "You should treat every person with respect. Rich or poor, dignity is equal for all." Aisha felt tears rising again, but this time they were different, not from pain, but from the comfort she never thought she would feel again. Memories of childhood flashed, the little house, shared food, Rayyan always protecting her. The years without him had been hard, but now he stood in front of her like a shield. He turned back to her gently. "Come," he said. "You will sit with me. At the same table where I sit with CEOs and millionaires. Because you deserve it." Aisha shook her head lightly. "Rayyan, I don't fit in this world. Look at me, my clothes, my shoes." She looked around, feeling small among shining jewelry and designer suits. But Rayyan smiled, a soft, reassuring smile she remembered from childhood. "You fit in my world. That's enough." He offered his hand. Her small trembling hand slowly reached for his. A quiet moment, emotional, powerful, healing. They walked side by side toward the main table. Everyone moved aside, some ashamed, some admiring her strength. Aisha's heart beat fast, but next to her brother she felt safe. She sat on a chair she never imagined sitting on. The white tablecloth, crystal glasses, expensive cutlery, all felt like a dream. She kept her hands in her lap, trying not to touch anything. Rayyan noticed. "Relax. You're not here as a guest. You're here as family." He signaled the waiter confidently. "Serve her the best dish we have." The same waiter who earlier insulted her now bowed respectfully. "Of course, sir." While food arrived, Rayyan leaned close and spoke quietly, only for Aisha to hear. "I searched for you for years. When I finally found you, I promised myself I would never let you suffer alone again. Aisha blinked away tears. I thought you forgot me. Rayyan's voice cracked just a little. Never. Silence filled with emotion, a reunion that felt like a miracle. But the story was not over, because someone in the restaurant watched them carefully with unknown intentions. While Aisha slowly began to relax, trying to understand this new reality, a man sitting at a distant table watched them with cold, calculating eyes. His fingers tapped the table rhythmically, as if waiting for the right moment. No one noticed him, but he noticed everything. Rayyan and Aisha ate together. For the first time in years, Aisha tasted something she had only seen in pictures. The food was soft, delicious, almost unreal. Every bite made her feel alive again. Rayyan watched her with a smile. You've lost weight, he said quietly. Aisha lowered her gaze. Life was not easy after you left, she whispered. Rayyan's eyes filled with guilt. I didn't leave by choice. After father died, I was taken away to a boarding school by relatives, and when I returned, you were gone. I searched everywhere. His voice trembled slightly. It felt like I lost half of my soul. Aisha's heart squeezed. She didn't know that. She had thought he abandoned her for a rich life. But now she realized, he was suffering too. Brother, she said softly, I never stopped waiting for you. Rayyan gently held her hand across the table. You don't have to wait anymore. A warm moment, one that heals old wounds. But harmony rarely lasts long. Suddenly, the same manager approached nervously. Sir, there's someone who wishes to speak to you. He says it's urgent. Rayyan frowned slightly. Who? Before the manager could answer, the mysterious man stood up and walked over himself. His footsteps were slow, confident, almost threatening. He wore a black suit, a silver watch, eyes sharp like a predator. Aisha felt uneasy instantly. The man smiled, cold and fake. Rayyan. He spoke the name like it belonged to him. Rayyan stood up, his posture tense. Kamal. So they knew each other. Kamal's gaze shifted to Aisha, scanning her from head to toe. So this is the sister you kept hidden from the world. Aisha felt like shrinking under his stare. Rayyan stepped forward, blocking her from Kamal's view. What do you want? People around pretended to eat but were secretly listening. Kamal shrugged casually. I came to remind you of the deal. You owe me, Rayyan. And if you don't return what you promised. His voice dropped lower, darker. I will take something valuable instead. Aisha's heart raced. She didn't understand, but she felt danger like a shadow crawling behind her. Rayyan's jaw tightened. You will not touch her. Kamal smirked. Protect her if you can. But remember, business debts are not forgiven out of love. He turned and walked away slowly, leaving behind an atmosphere heavy with threat. Aisha looked at her brother, confused and scared. Rayyan, what was he talking about? Rayyan exhaled deeply, as if carrying a weight for years. There are things I haven't told you yet, Aisha. I became rich, but not everything was clean. I made a mistake, and now he wants to use you to control me. Aisha's eyes widened. Me? But why? Because you are my weakness, Rayyan whispered. For the first time since meeting him, Aisha saw fear in her brother's eyes. Not fear for himself, but for her. Outside the restaurant, Kamal lit a cigarette, watching them through the glass with a smile. A smile that promised trouble. The sun was beginning to set, painting the city in orange and gold, but inside the restaurant, tension hung thick in the air. Aisha sat quietly across from Rayyan, her small hands clasped together, trembling slightly. Her brother's face was serious, protective, and she knew now that whatever came next, he would face it head-on. Rayyan's eyes scanned the room, ensuring no one could harm her. He leaned close to her. You were brave today, Aisha. Never forget that, he said softly. She looked at him, eyes wide. I was scared, but I had to do it. I had to make them see. Before he could respond, Kamal reappeared at the door. This time, his smile was sharper, more dangerous. A hush fell over the restaurant. Rayyan stood, towering over the small girl beside him. His presence alone silenced the room. Kamal walked in confidently, exuding arrogance. I warned you, Rayyan, he said, voice low. You can't escape your promises. And now, he paused, glancing at Aisha, you brought her into this. Aisha's heart raced. She had never seen Rayyan like this before, calm, powerful, but simmering with anger. "Do not involve her in your threats," Rayyan said steadily. "She is my sister. You will not harm her in any way." Kamal laughed, a harsh, cold sound. "You think your wealth protects you? Think again." Rayyan stepped forward, his voice calm but deadly. "This ends now. You leave, or face the consequences, legally and publicly." The staff and guests watched, shocked. No one dared interrupt. Kamal smirked, then finally, with a cold glance at Aisha, turned and walked out. The tension in the room slowly eased. Aisha exhaled deeply, still holding her brother's hand. "Rayyan, thank you, for coming. For protecting me." Rayyan smiled softly, his eyes filled with pride and emotion. "You were the strongest part of today, Aisha. You didn't bow down. You called for help when it mattered, and that courage saved you." The manager and staff, who had laughed at her earlier, now approached cautiously, heads bowed. We're sorry, Aisha," one said quietly. Another added, "We never should have treated you like that." Aisha shook her head, smiling gently. "It's okay. I just wanted to be treated like a human being. That's all." Rayyan's eyes softened. "See, even kindness can change hearts." From that moment, Aisha's life began to change. Rayyan ensured she had everything she needed: education, opportunities, and safety. He became her mentor, protector, and guide. She never felt alone again. Months passed, and Aisha grew stronger, confident in her voice and her choices. She began helping others who were treated unfairly, inspired by her own experience. She and Rayyan often visited schools, orphanages, and shelters, teaching children that courage and truth always matter. One evening, as they walked through the city park together, Aisha looked up at her brother and smiled. "You didn't just protect me, you taught me how to be brave." Rayyan bent down slightly, resting a hand on her shoulder. "And you reminded me that wealth, power, or fear doesn't mean anything if we don't protect the people we love. You are my greatest lesson, Aisha." Aisha's mother, who had been reunited with them after years apart, now lived with Rayyan and Aisha in a small but comfortable home. Every evening, the family sat together, laughing, talking, and sharing stories. The past was painful, but it had made them stronger. The world outside continued its fast, noisy pace, people rushing to offices, cars honking, and the city lights flickering. But inside this small home, love, respect, and courage had won. And for Aisha, the little girl once laughed at, mocked, and humiliated, the world was no longer frightening. She had her brother, her family, and the strength to face anything. Before bedtime, she placed her small bag neatly on the shelf and whispered softly to herself, "No one can look down on me again. I have courage, I have love, and I have Bai." Outside, the city glittered, oblivious to the story of a little girl who had faced cruelty with courage, and a brother who had never stopped protecting her. The lesson was clear: even the smallest voice, spoken with truth and courage, can awaken the strongest hearts and change lives forever.